My arch-rival has been acting weird lately. Nursing hangovers, smoking, and completely ignoring my teasing. My diagnosis? Unrequited love. Naturally, I decided to gloat and offer some terrible advice. Ever heard of the forced romance trope? Men love that. Just grab 'em. Lou Ryan smirked. Are you sure? Before I could even blink, she grabbed my tie, pulling me forward. What are you? I gasped, but her cool fingers locked onto my jaw. Her red lips slammed onto mine, and our lips tangled in a deep, desperate kiss. That's forced romance for you, baby. My brain totally blue screen of death. I froze in place. Wait, Lou Ryan is kissing me? Actually kissing me? The girl I've been feuding with for 3 years. I suddenly snapped out of it and shoved her away. I stumbled back, knocking a row of glasses off the bar with a loud crash. You've had too much to drink, I said, my composure shattered like ice. You definitely have the wrong guy. What's your crush's name again? Zhang Shi. Hausch. Finished my name. Her voice was steady, her eyes incredibly sharp. She didn't look like she'd had 3 Long Islands at all. You taught me this, she said, calm as a professor. I just followed your advice. Is there a problem? My mouth opened, but no sound came out. She grabbed her coat, turned, and walked away, her heels clicking slowly on the floor. I stood there, my heart pounding so loud I was sure the next table could hear it. Her lipstick still lingered on my lips. I licked them not on purpose. Just a physical reaction. Nothing to do with her. And my sleepless night? Not because of her either. The mattress was too hard, the AC was weird, and someone was walking a dog downstairs. It had nothing to do with that kiss. I tossed and turned in bed, but my brain was on a loop. The grip of her hand on my jaw, the shadow of her lashes. The way her voice trailed up when she called me baby. Damn it. I sat up and chugged some water. This is just a stress response. Adrenaline from being ambushed. That's all. It has nothing to do with romance. How, have known her for 25 years. My feelings for her can be summed up in one word. Annoying. 2 words. Very annoying. Now, I might add. Freaking annoying. The next day, I decided to confront her. First, hit her with blaming it on the alcohol. Then, finish her off with digi-blackout. Finally, when she gets defensive, turn around and walk away to regain the upper hand. I even practiced my expression in the mirror twice, a perfect blend of mockery and disdain. With a touch of pity. Perfect. When I pushed her office door open, I felt 10 feet tall. But there she was, sitting behind her desk, sipping an Americano, her makeup absolutely flawless. Not a single trace of a hangover on her. Her shirt was buttoned to the top, her hair tucked behind her ear, showing a sliver of her earlobe. She looked up at me, her expression as cold as if she were reviewing a failed weekly report. Setting her cup down, she said, Mr. Shi. Can I help you? Mr. Shi. She used to call me how, idiot, or loser. Anything but Mr. Shi. Hearing it from her felt like a condescending slap of polite business formality. Like a CEO meeting a minor supplier. Instantly, my 10-foot-tall confidence shrank down to 3 feet. I cleared my throat, desperately trying to salvage my rehearsed script. About yesterday, you getting drunk and acting crazy before I could finish. She stood up, walked around her desk, and headed straight toward me, her heels clicking slowly on the floor. I wanted to step back, but I didn't. How, would never back down in front of her. She reached out, and I tensed up completely. But she only grabbed my tie, gently straightening the knot. Your tie is crooked, she said, looking up at me. We were barely 15 centimeters apart. I could see my own panicked face reflected in her eyes. Didn't you teach me this? she murmured, tilting her head with a tiny smirk. Forced romance. Just go for it. What's wrong, mister? She can't handle the heat. Instantly, the script I'd spent all night preparing completely vanished. What, I was just joking? She released my tie and took half a step back, her face returning to its usual, icy, calm. Well, I wasn't joking. She walked back to her desk, sat down, and tipped her coffee cup toward me, gesturing with her chin. The door's behind you, Mr. She. See yourself out. I turned and walked out, my hand trembling slightly as I shut the door. Not from fear, obviously. The AC was just freezing. But over the next week, I lived in total terror. It wasn't because she got meaner, it's because she got sweet. Or more accurately, she started treating me like a protagonist in one of those cheesy romance novels, word for word. On Monday, during our weekly meeting, as I sat down after my presentation, she walked by and brushed her fingertips against my shoulder. Just a feather-light touch, but it sent shivers down my spine. I didn't hear a single word of the meeting after that. On Tuesday, I was pouring coffee in the break room when she walked in, stood right next to me, and reached across my arm for the sugar jar. Our skin brushed. "Excuse me," she said. Completely normal, right? Just two coworkers sharing a break room. But my hand shook, spilling coffee everywhere, and I ended up using a mountain of napkins. She just stood there, watching me with a tiny smirk. She was holding back a laugh. She absolutely was. Wednesday was the worst. We were working late until 9 p.m., and we were the only ones left. As I gathered my things and walked past her cubicle, I glanced over. She was massaging her neck, her collar slightly open, her collarbone glowing under the desk lamp. I looked away, but too late. Already stared for a solid 3 seconds. She looked up and caught my eye. "How?" she said, her voice slightly raspy from exhaustion. "Why are you staring?" "Just making sure you don't drop dead, so I know how much to put in your funeral envelope," I snapped, and I bolted out of there. On Thursday night, I was face down on my friend Wang Tang's couch like a dead fish, groaning at the ceiling. "She's lost her mind, Tang. She's completely lost it." Wang Tung just munched on sunflower seeds as he listened to my dramatic story. After I finished my choppy recap of the past 4 days, he summarized. "So, Lou Ryan is flirting with you, touching you, and pinning you to walls. And your reaction is running away. I didn't run. It was a strategic retreat. Bro, you ran. But don't worry, I got a plan." He sat up, looking like some master tactician. "With a girl like her, you can't be weak. If she goes hard, you go harder." "What? Vibe? Bro? Energy?" He slapped the coffee table. "She pins you. You reverse pin her. She flirts. You flirt back. Beat her at her own game. Take back control. She only does this because she thinks you're a coward. The second you get assertive, she'll back off." I thought about it. It actually made sense. She was only doing this because I reacted so much. If I acted even bolder and completely unbothered, she'd lose her footing. She's normally so aloof. If someone actually gets right in her face, she's bound to crack under pressure. "Good point," I agreed. "Damn straight." Wang Teng smirked, crossing his legs triumphantly. "Bro, just go for it. Make your move, and don't look back." Looking back on that night, I want to slap both myself and Wang Teng hard. On Friday afternoon at 3 p.m., I staked out the break room. Almost everyone on this floor is in meetings at this time, so it's usually empty. And she always gets coffee at exactly 3:15. At 3:12, I was pretending to pour water. At exactly 3:15, she walked in right on schedule. White shirt, black skirt, and her hair tied in a low ponytail today, exposing a small delicate sliver of her neck. Don't look at her neck. Focus. I took a deep breath. The moment she reached for the coffee maker, I initiated the plan. I spun around, stepped forward, and slammed one hand on the wall next to her, then the other. A textbook wall pin. I looked down at her. We were barely 20 centimeters apart. I locked eyes with her, trying to look as intimidating as possible. Lou Ryan, I rumbled, lowering my voice to its deepest, most dramatic tone. Have you been my rehearse line was supposed to be? Have you been too bored lately? But I couldn't finish it. Because she moved. She didn't flinch, she didn't blush, and she didn't shove me away. Instead, she reached up and slowly wrapped both arms around my neck, her cool fingers sliding into the hair at the back of my head. My entire scalp tingled. We were at the office. Then, she stood on her tiptoes, leaning close to my ear. Her warm breath felt like a feather brushing against my skin. Are you sure you want to do this here? She whispered. In that split second, my brain went through absolute chaos, trying to process everything. First, her words. Second, her fingers. Third, the warmth of her breath. Fourth, complete system crash. I panicked, shoved myself back, and stumbled. My back slammed into the counter, rattling a row of cups. She calmly withdrew her hands and straightened her collar. Her expression was already back to normal, cool, collected, almost bored, as if nothing had happened. If you had a line ready, you should have finished it, she said, pouring her coffee without looking back. Giving up halfway isn't like you. The door clicked shut. She was gone. I gripped the counter, feeling like my heart was about to burst out of my chest. My face was hot enough to fry an egg. I touched my ear, it was burning. Beat her at her own game. Wong Tung. You idiot. That was a beginner trying to fight a boss-level wizard. I lost. Totally lost. And worst of all, when her arms were around my neck, when her lips were close to my ear. I didn't actually want to push her away. For a split second, I actually wanted to lean in. I covered my face, crouching in the corner of the break room like a kicked puppy. I was totally screwed. I was actually falling for my rival. But even if I was, I couldn't let my pride slide. Over the next few days, I adopted a brand new strategy. Physical distancing. If I saw her coming, I took a detour. If we crossed paths in the hallway, I stared at my phone. If she was in the elevator, I pretended to wait for the next one. It worked. My heart rate went back to normal, and I could breathe again. But my daily commute got 2 kilometers longer. Wong Tang said, "That's not a strategic retreat, you're just running away in terror." I told him to shut up because he had lost his advice-giving privileges. We managed to survive like this for a week. Then, the annual company gala arrived. It was a buffet and cocktail party at a downtown hotel, supposedly a team-building event. But actually, a social battlefield. I wore a dark gray suit, my tie done up with absolute precision. Not to impress anyone, just basic professional courtesy. Once inside, I grabbed a glass of champagne and made polite small talk with some coworkers. But my eyes kept scanning the room, searching for her. Not that I missed her. It was just standard situational awareness. 20 minutes later, as I grabbed a dessert near the window seats, I turned and saw her. She was wearing a black, off-the-shoulder slip dress. Usually, she wears button-up shirts and skirts at the office, leaving only the top button undone, which is already enough to make it hard for me to breathe. But tonight, her entire collarbone was exposed. The elegant lines of her shoulder blades moved gracefully as she turned, her skin glowing under the warm lights. I stared for a good 3 seconds. And then, I saw the guy standing next to her. Tall glasses, definitely the type of man your mom would love for you to marry. Gentle, polite, with a smile as warm as a spring breeze. Except right now, that spring breeze felt freezing. That guy with glasses was leaning in, whispering to Liu Ryan, and she actually smiled. Not a fake smirk, but a real, relaxed laugh, showing teeth. Suddenly, the whiskey in my hand tasted like battery acid. It wasn't a bad batch. I was just curious, purely curious. How could she look at another guy like that? Has she ever smiled at me? Wait, has she? No, just smirks, sneers, and mockery. Damn it. Clutching my glass, I started to drift over. I wasn't trying to get close. I just wanted some shrimp dumplings, which happened to be right next to them. Once I got within range, I listened closely. I finished that book you sent, Ryan said, her voice 3 times softer than usual. It was really good. Especially the last chapter. Glad you liked it, Glasses Guy smiled. I'll recommend another good book next time. Sharing books. Such a precise, hipster way to socialize. I looked down at the greasy dumpling in my hand and suddenly felt incredibly unrefined. Just then, a hand slapped my shoulder. Wong Teng, wearing a flashy purple tie, grinned and leaned in with a glass of red wine. "What are you doing here?" He followed my gaze. "Whoa, that look is way too cozy." "It's not what you think," I said. "I didn't say anything, your eyes did," he joked, munching on peanuts. Then he casually asked, "Who's the guy?" "Don't know, don't care." "Then why are you staring?" "I'm staring at the dumplings. They're literally in your hand." Meanwhile, Ryan and Glasses Guy laughed again. This time, Glasses Guy reached out and pulled her shawl up, briefly touching her shoulder. Just a quick light tap. I put the dumplings down, lost my appetite. "Don't you hate her?" Wong Teng drawled beside me. "Why are you acting like a dog guarding its bone?" "You're the dog." "Fine, I'm a dog." "But what are you?" He smirked. I ignored him, put on the most natural social smile I could fake, and walked straight over. Glass in hand. "Hey," I said, stopping in front of her. "What's the topic?" My voice was way louder than expected, probably 8 times louder. Ryan looked up, a strange spark in her eyes. "Shi Hao, this is Chunzi," she introduced him. Her voice immediately reverted to that cold, distant tone reserved just for me. "Chunzi, this is my colleague." She called me a colleague. Sure, arch-rival sounds bad, but colleague? For 3 years, we've fought 4 times a week, reported each other for stealing conference rooms, and even fought over the last sweet and sour pork at lunch. "You call that a colleague?" "Nice to meet you," Chunzi said, offering a warm, polite smile. I shook his hand. Warm, dry, perfect grip, clean nails. Annoying. I couldn't find a single flaw. "So, what book are you guys discussing?" I asked. "I've been reading lately." Tua lied. "Honestly, I've only read threads on dealing with toxic coworkers. Because Ryan's antics are basically workplace bullying." "We're discussing Haruki Murakami," Chunzi said. "Murakami." I nodded.
"Oh, nice."
"He wrote that, that book I read?" My knowledge of Murakami was basically zero. Maybe it was in a high school textbook, 10 years ago. "Norwegian wood," Chunzi offered kindly. Right. Norwegian Wood. A classic. Ryan looked at me, her eyes cutting through my act like a scalpel. For the next 15 minutes, I awkwardly wedged myself between them in the most clumsy way possible. Every time Chunzi started a topic, I cut him off with something completely unrelated. He talked literature, I talked work. He mentioned travel, I brought up Department KP is. He brought up music, and I dragged the topic to the cafeteria's food quality. Finally, Ryan snapped and cut me off. "What do you actually want?" "Nothing. Just looking out for a colleague's social life." "You never do that." "People change." She stared at me for 3 seconds, her eyes like an X-ray scanning my entire soul. I held my ground. On the surface, I looked completely unfazed. 5 minutes later, Chun-Zi got a call and had to leave. He politely told Ryan they'd chat later, nodded at me, and walked off. I watched him go, relieved. But wait, he just grabbed a drink and walked to the sofas on the other side. He started talking to another group. But what if he comes back? No, I need to cut this off at the root. Let's go, I said, standing up. What? Ryan looked at me. A work matter. We need to talk in private. Now, at a banquet, it's urgent. Are you coming? She didn't budge. I reached out and grabbed her wrist. It was thinner than I expected. Her cool skin resting in my palm. My heart skipped a violent beat, but I completely ignored it. I pulled her out of the hall, down the corridor, and stopped at the floor 2 ceiling windows at the end. Nobody was there. The city lights sparkled, but I didn't care. I let go of her wrist and turned. Didn't you say you liked forced love? The second the words left my mouth, I heard something in my voice that shouldn't have been there. It wasn't anger, it was hurt. Damn it. Why was she flirting with Chun-Zi? I pushed on anyway. If you're doing this forced love thing, have some professional ethics. Or what? She leaned against the window, looking up at me. The hallway light hit her face, split in half by shadow. There was something unreadable in her eyes. I couldn't say, or only look at me. That would be too embarrassing. Or take it seriously, I said. That was the limit of my courage. Silence hung between us for 3 seconds. Then, heels clicked at the end of the hall. Shen Yu-Chu, Ryan's best friend, turned the corner holding 2 glasses of champagne. She glanced at me, then at Ryan, with a knowing grin. Her tone was light, as if sharing trivial gossip. Oh, by the way, Chun-Zi is Ryan's cousin. The air instantly froze. I could feel my face. Have you ever wanted to melt into the floor? Because my face was burning from my neck to my ears. A cousin? Her actual cousin. I had just spent 15 minutes peacocking in front of him like a desperate idiot. Shen Yu-Chu, she handed Ryan her glass, winked at me, and walked away. She left with a breezy skip, humming a little tune. We were alone again. I didn't dare look at Ryan, but then I heard her voice teasing and soft. It felt like a kitten scratching at my heart. How? She said. Are you jealous? You dragged me out of the party because my cousin touched my shawl. And told me to take you seriously. And you're saying you're not. I was just being a caring colleague. And when you accused me of having no professional ethics, that was a metaphor. So you were debating the standards of forced love. She laughed. No smirk, no mockery, just a genuine smile that turned her eyes into crescents. It made my throat tighten. She raised her glass. She toasted me. Tell me, Mr. Shi, does jealousy taste good? Standing at the end of the hall, with the city lights behind me. My face was hot enough to melt glass. I stammered, trying to find words. Finally, I blurted, your dress is too thin. Go put on a coat. After that, Her soft laughter followed me like fizz rising in soda, ringing in my ears all the way home. Since the cousin incident, I've been in a state of utter embarrassment. To put it simply, I started reminiscing. Not about these recent crazy events, but all the way back to college. During my thesis defense, she sat in the 3rd row. Out of everyone, she was the only one who could shoot holes in my logic. Back then, I thought she had it out for me. But now, did she research my topic beforehand? During our internship, we were at the same company, different departments. We bumped into each other at the cafeteria constantly. I assumed it was just because there was only one cafeteria. But Wang Tung later told me that company had 3 cafeterias. She went to mine on purpose. And after we got hired, She insisted on taking the parking spot next to mine, stealing conference rooms, and taking the last order of sweet and sour pork. I thought she was just picking fights. Out of over 2,000 employees, I was the only one she targeted. The math doesn't add up. It's dangerous to think like this. But what if she actually liked me back then? No, that's too narcissistic. There's no way a goddess like her has been crushing on me. No way. Over the weekend, Shen Yu-chu asked me out for coffee. Yes, me. Instantly, I knew something was off. We've never been the type of friends to hang out alone. Her showing up in my life was 100% related to Ryan, but I went anyway. I couldn't explain why. Maybe because, ever since she dropped the cousin bombshell at the party, I had a feeling she knew things I didn't. The cafe was near our office. Shen Yu-chu was already there in a beige sweater. She sat with a latte, looking completely sweet and harmless. But I knew better. Anyone who is Ryan's best friend is a master player. Thanks for coming, she smiled. Let's get straight to business. Ryan will kill me, but I think you should know this. She slid her phone over. The screen showed a social media account with an anonymous profile and a simple fireworks sketch. The user ID was Yan. This is Ryan's secret account, Yu-chu said. She doesn't know I follow her. Scroll down. Her face was serious, no teasing in her eyes. I picked up the phone and scrolled. The timeline started 3 years ago. The earliest post was from our college graduation, showing the ginkgo trees in front of the classroom building. The caption read a new beginning. Heard he signed with the same company. Stalking successful. My finger paused before scrolling on. We argued for 10 minutes today over a PowerPoint color. Blue or green, does it even matter? But when he argues, his nose turns red. Cute. I figured out cafeterias A, B, and C. He always goes to B, so B. It is. He won the pitch today. I didn't let him. I actually lost. So frustrating. When he accepted the award, he looked at me. Probably gloating, but I saved the picture. The timeline moved to after we joined the company. His car is in spot B327, so I park in B320. I arrive 10 minutes earlier every morning to make it look like a coincidence. He asked, "Why are you here again?" "Because I'm waiting for you, idiot." During the department dinner, he drank too much and passed out on the table. I pretended to go to the bathroom and pulled his jacket over him. He has no idea. Fought with him today over the last sweet and sour pork. Honestly, I don't even like sweet and sour pork, but it's his Wednesday go. If I don't fight him, he won't look at me. My scrolling slowed. You and I both know how it feels when reality flips. Every petty fight was just her way of staying near me. The last few posts were from right before the banquet. Wang Teng is setting him up on a blind date with someone named Li. They say she's gentle, elegant, and sweet, exactly the type of woman any normal man would fall for. You and I both know I'm not your average guy. I'm the type who spent 3 years bickering with her. If she goes on a blind date, I'll well that entry cut off. The next day, bought a bad pack of cigarettes yesterday. At the bar, she asked what was wrong, saying forced love is the way to go. Then don't blame me. I put down my phone. The latte across from me had gone cold. Shen Yu-chu looked at me quietly. Now, you know, she whispered. It wasn't on a whim. That night at the bar, she wasn't drunk at all. All that forced love stuff. She's been planning it for 3 years. All or nothing gamble. I stayed silent, feeling like something was lodged in my throat. She's incredibly proud, Shen Yu-chu continued. So, she chose a way that looked like a joke. That way, if you rejected her, she still had a way out, saying she was just kidding. I stared down at the table. But she has no way out now. Shen Yu-chu's voice dropped to a whisper. What you said in the hallway, that day if you're going to say it, mean it. She went home and cried. I looked up. She cried. Yeah, not out of sadness, but because you actually seemed serious? Shen Yuchu smiled. The one word she waited 3 years for. I sat in the cafe. Outside, the sun was bright, and someone walked by with a dog, but my mind was spinning. She wasn't playing games with me. The rival persona was just a role she chose, because it let her stay closest to me. The cigarettes, the drinks, the exhaustion in her eyes, it wasn't about some It was because of me, because she was terrified of losing me. Yet, I had gloated to her face about forced love. I stood up. Where you going? Shen Yuchu asked. I've got things to do. What things? I didn't answer, pushing the door open. The bright sun stung my eyes, but it wasn't the sunlight. I didn't run to Lu Ryan immediately, because I needed time to process, not the fact that she'd loved me for 3 years, but the realization that I'd been utterly blind for 3 whole years. I went home, sat on the couch, and did something incredibly stupid. I started replaying the past. I pulled out every single memory of her from the last 3 years, dissecting them through a brand new lens. The slight smirk on her face whenever we argued it wasn't sarcasm, but joy, because I was actually engaging with her. Every time she took my things to provoke me, that split-second hesitation was her waiting for my reaction. When she happened to work late whenever I did, our overtime schedules matching perfectly for 3 years, that wasn't a coincidence. That was someone secretly rearranging her entire schedule for someone else. And then there were the moments I never thought twice about. Like when I returned to work after a fever and found throat lozenges on my desk, I assumed HR left them. But thinking back, since when does HR ever hand out lozenges? Or that time a client negotiation hit a brick wall and the room turned to ice. Lu Ryan suddenly barged in, claiming she needed the space. It broke the tension, and by the time we got back on track, the tables had turned. I even mocked her for barging in without checking the schedule. She claimed she was too lazy. Lazy? Lu Ryan, a perfectionist who'd correct a slide if the color was off by 2%, too lazy. The more I thought, the stupider I felt. A total fool, protected for 3 years without ever realizing it. Let's take a closer look at my feelings. I wasn't angry. I didn't feel manipulated. I just felt this massive, suffocating weight in my chest, realizing she carried all of this alone, hiding behind a rival persona and acting out this enemy drama for 3 years. Every sarcastic remark was aligned, every petty argument part of a script. But what she actually wanted to say, not a single word of it was spoken. It was all written in that secret account. Monday morning, I got to work. Lu Ryan wasn't at her desk, and it looked cleaner than usual. A few of her personal items were missing. My heart sank. I stepped over to her desk and glanced at her unlocked monitor. There was a draft email. Sender Lu Ryan. Recipient, HR Department. CC her direct manager. The subject line read, regarding transfer request. I only read the first sentence. Due to career adjustments, I request a transfer to the Shanghai branch. My head spun. She was running away. She figured that once I knew the truth, I'd think she was manipulative. So she chose to flee before I could even speak. That is so like her. Too proud to wait for a rejection, she'd rather just walk away. I grabbed my phone and called her. No answer. I tried again, it was turned off. I stood up. The colleague in the next cubicle peeked over. Hey, we have a 9:30 meeting. Cover for me? What reason? Acute cardiac arrest. I squeezed into the elevator right before the door slid shut, slamming the button for the lobby. We agreed on forced love, so why the hell are you running? She lived in a neighborhood 3 kilometers west of the office. I didn't seek out her address on purpose. Once, after overtime, the designated driver's navigation system showed we were heading the same way, and I just memorized her street. Now, that accident paid off. 10 minutes later, I was at her door, ringing the bell. No response. I knocked. "Lou Ryan, open up. I know you're in there." Honestly, I wasn't sure, but I couldn't back down now. 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, then the door swung open. She stood there in a loose white t-shirt, her hair down, without any makeup. Her nose and eyes were slightly red. The second she saw me, her face shifted from shock to pure defense. She looked like a cornered cat, claws out, ready to scratch. "What are you doing here?" Her voice was incredibly hoarse. I didn't answer. I looked down at what she was holding. A stack of papers, with the printed transfer request right on top, already signed. I reached out, snatched the documents from her grip, and ripped the form right down the middle, right in front of her face. The sharp sound of tearing paper echoed loudly in the silent room. Lou Ryan gasped. "How? Are you crazy?" "You are the crazy one." I threw the shredded paper on the floor and stepped toward her. She backed up. I took another step, and she retreated again until her back hit the entryway wall. I leaned in, slamming my hand against the wall beside her head. This wasn't like that failed attempt in the break room. This time, I wasn't running. "Lou Ryan," I said, my throat tight and voice shaking. "You've liked me since college, fighting over cafeteria tables, stealing the parking spot next to mine, fighting over sweet and sour pork you don't even like. You synced 3 cafeteria schedules, arriving 10 minutes early every day to fake a run-in. You forced yourself to be perfect just so I'd notice you." Her eyes grew redder, her lips pressed into a tight line. "Even your forced love speech was a setup. You weren't even drunk enough." She cut me off, her voice trembling, tears pooling in her eyes, about to spill. "Did you come here just to say all this?" She turned away, refusing to look at me, her voice brittle as cracked glass. "Have you had your laugh?" "How? You can leave now." I stared at her profile, her jaw clenched, tears glinting in the corners of her eyes, her eyelashes trembling. Suddenly, I couldn't say a thing. All the words I had prepared, like, "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" or "You idiot," felt completely wrong, completely inadequate. I reached out, cupping the back of her head. She snapped her gaze to mine, eyes wide with panic. I leaned down and kissed her. It wasn't like her kiss at the bar, calculated, precise, and scripted. My kiss was a complete mess. Our teeth bumped. The angle was clumsy. My nose hit her cheekbone, but I didn't stop. I held the back of her head, pouring everything I couldn't say into that kiss. 3 years of being blind, 3 years of missed connections, every unread post in her secret account, that terrible cigarette she smoked, the night she cried. Lou Ryan froze for about 2 seconds, then her hands slowly gripped the front of my shirt, not to push me away, but to pull me closer, tighter and tighter. I felt the fabric of my shirt bunching up under her white-knuckled grip. She cried silently, but I could feel her wet eyelashes and the warm tears rubbing off on my cheek. I let go of her lips, but kept our faces close. Forehead to forehead, nose to nose. "Lou Ryan," I whispered, my voice rough as sandpaper, my eyes burning. "You started this forced love script, so don't even think about stopping now." Her eyes were right there, tears shattered into a sky full of stars. As I kissed her again, the angle was right, the warmth was right, everything was right. Against her lips, I mumbled the rest of that sentence. "Now it's my turn." 3 months later, my life has changed a bit. For example, my parking space changed from B327 to B328, because Ryan moved her things into my back seat. Commuting together daily made 2 spots seem wasteful. Also, we still only go to cafeteria, Beat that habit hasn't changed. She'll grab a plate of sweet and sour pork for me and eat 2/3 of it. I thought you didn't like this? I didn't before, she says, chewing. But now it's fine. Probably because you ordered it, and it's free. Stubborn girl. And we still work overtime together, but afterward, we don't go our separate ways. She curls up on my couch reading, resting her feet on my lap, occasionally poking my thigh with her toes. How? I'm hungry. Where are your hands? Busy turning pages. My feet are smarter. Your logic is terrible. Still, I go to the kitchen and cook her noodles. While cooking, I sometimes think about what Shen Yuchu told me later. Her secret account hasn't been updated lately. Because she has no more words she needs to hide. When I heard that, my chopsticks paused, but I pretended nothing happened and kept eating. At night, after she fell asleep, I took out my phone and scrolled to that account named Strict. The latest post was from last week, featuring a photo of 2 coffee cups, an Americano and a latte. It was a latte. The text was only 4 words. He found out. I stared at it for the longest time, then put my phone down. In the dark, I watched his huddled back under the covers. I wanted to touch his hair. When I did, he mumbled, nudging closer to me, fast asleep. I put my phone away and stared at the ceiling. You and I both know some feelings never fade on. That's not a bad thing. Over the weekend, Wang Teng let out a high-pitched shriek in my living room. The reason? A post on my feed, a photo of our hands intertwined with a delicate ring on her finger. The caption read, "Transfer request denied. Replaced with a lifetime contract." Wang Teng swiped back and forth 3 times to make sure he wasn't seeing things. And then he dialed my number. I answered, and Lou Ryan's voice floated over in the background, asking who's calling. Bro, Wang Teng's voice trembled. I told you to take down your rival. Yeah. But I definitely didn't mean that kind of taking down. I hung up. Beep beep beep. Wang Teng held his phone, staring blankly for 30 seconds. Then he posted an update. My reverse wall slam strategy was theoretically flawless. There was just a slight execution error on the user's end. I'm not taking the blame for this. Hashtag, I didn't mean that kind of takedown. In the comments, Shen Yuchu replied. Keep lying to yourself, Chunzi wrote. Congrats, Lou Ryan commented. Thanks for the terrible advice, Teacher Wang. Without you, I might have had to wait another 3 years. I replied. Don't thank him. He's already broken. Wang Teng stared at the comments, slowly typing out a reply, then deleting it. He typed again and deleted it again. Finally, he just posted a meme. A hamster, with completely hollow eyes, captioned, "What have I done?"